What's the most unfair thing that ever happened to you, but you got over it? Family promise. When my grandmother clasped my hand and told me, "That house will always be yours too, Alex." I believed her the way a child believes the sun will rise tomorrow. That house wasn't just timber and bricks. It was memory made solid. It was the crooked kitchen table where she taught me to knead dough with flour up to my elbows. It was the narrow attic where I hid my notebooks full of secret dreams. It was the garden where mint grew so thick the air smelled like summer, even in December. It was the place she tucked me in when the world outside felt too loud. To me, that house was safety, loyalty, and family. So when she passed, I clung to her promise. After the funeral, relatives filled the kitchen with soft stories. The bread she always burned, the way she misheard songs and hummed her own version, the old radio that never quite caught a signal. I was 25, still bruised from grief, when my uncle, an amiable man with a smile that never reached his eyes, pulled me aside. "Don't worry, Alex," he said. "I'll handle the will. You'll get the house share. I promised your grandmother." I trusted him. He'd always been the one good with paperwork. My grief-blurred judgment made me sign whatever he pushed in front of me. He was family. Why would I doubt him? 6 months later, I returned with a bouquet of mint from the market, ready to step back into the house I thought I half owned. Instead, a stranger opened the door. The curtains were new. The furniture was gone. The smell was lemon polish and money, not my grandmother's house anymore. My uncle had sold it. When I called him, he chuckled nervously and brushed me off. It was a business decision. You'll get your portion. Don't be dramatic. I felt gutted. It wasn't about the money. It was betrayal. He had taken my grandmother's promise and turned it into cash for his new car and his easy life. For months, the anger consumed me. I replayed conversations, cursed him in silence, and tried to accept that I had no proof, no power, no one willing to fight beside me. But anger, if you let it sit long enough, doesn't stay fire. It turns into fuel. I decided not to let it die. I studied. I worked jobs and saved. I took night classes in law, not to become a lawyer, but to understand the very system that had been used against me. I listened to neighbors' stories. One by one, patterns emerged. My uncle had a history of clever deals, of bending trust into profit. He hadn't just stolen my house, he had made a career out of exploiting people who trusted him. So I began to keep records. I collected receipts, emails, and whispered stories. I built a private ledger the way my grandmother used to keep her recipe book: careful, precise, honest. Years later, an opening came. My aunt discovered old bank papers that didn't add up. Together, we followed the trail. What we found was small but damning: forged authorizations, diverted funds, and estate money siphoned into his pocket. Not enough to make national news, but enough to prove a pattern. We filed a civil suit. We dragged him, paper by paper, into the light. Under oath, his confidence cracked. Contractors admitted false invoices. A realtor admitted he'd been pressured to undervalue the house. The mask slipped. His reputation, built on charm, started to crumble. We didn't get the house back. That hurt. But the court forced restitution, stripped him of control, and left a public record that stained his carefully polished name. My aunt could finally breathe. The community, small as it was, tightened its rules. And me? I bought my own small house later. Not my grandmother's, but mine. On the balcony, I planted mint in clay pots. The smell still carries summer into every room. When people ask me if I got over it, I tell them this: I didn't get over it by forgetting. I got over it by making sure it couldn't happen again. Not to me, not to others. Fairness, when fought for patiently, becomes contagious. The most unfair thing that ever happened to me was losing my grandmother's house to my uncle's greed. But what freed me was turning that betrayal into a record, into accountability, into something honest. And that's how I got over it. Like and subscribe. Share if something like this ever happened to you or someone you know.